To be here to celebrate this program. From a city perspective, the funding that we were able to put in place was flexible, it was fast, it not only enabled the sort of fun activities that you want to take advantage of in your community, but it helped us with transportation issues. Just the brief sample of projects that were permitted, everything from art walks to bike shares. This is going to help our local economy, help us move people around in safe ways, help mental health of getting people out in spaces that they'd love to be able to enjoy if the infrastructure is there. Most importantly, this will be with us for a long period of time. The outdoor dining, the consumer confidence that enables people who, even though you can go inside in places that can allow proper distancing, people feel safer outside. And so we're hoping to have this space activated well into the winter. And I think post-COVID, you're going to see our streets being used more for outdoor dining. We've had several people comment that they feel like they're in Europe, right? All these piazzas and places that used to house cars and parking are now places where people are eating, dining, enjoying coffee, and just getting outside and being together, something that's really hard to do during COVID. So really grateful for the partnership from the state helping us with spaces like this. We're one of the communities that's on Stop the Spread. We just announced additional downtown testing. It's really terrific as a local leader to know that we have a partner working with us to deploy resources quickly, effectively, and working to do everything that we can in concert to eradicate this virus, curb opportunities to spread transmission. This is about that as well. So thank you. Thank you all for being here. Glad to see you're all wearing masks. I'll trade spots with you.
So, Mayor, it's not just about streets. It's also about backyards. I was in Salem on Saturday night with some friends of ours, and there's a backyard behind Opus that is actually, it's like a courtyard. Yeah. It's really cool. And they're now doing several restaurants that, for whom that was the backyard that was forgotten about and never touched and never dealt with, are now all doing outdoor dining in this big, beautiful courtyard. And I have a feeling that will probably hang around for quite a while as well.
Not going anywhere.
Not going anywhere. Yeah.
Governor, since we are in Salem, could I ask you about your worry about crowds? Crowds are scary at a time of COVID, and yet Salem really relies on these people coming in. What advice would you have for the mayor about that?
Well, the first thing I'd say is somebody who's been over in Salem on a number of occasions in the fall already, just walking around with my family, the mayor has done a terrific job of both messaging and softly enforcing some of the rules around distance and masks. You literally can't walk more than 10 feet in the downtown area in Salem without bumping into a sign that says this is a mask required zone, and you can't walk another 10 feet after that without bumping into one of their mask ambassadors who work the downtown pretty hard at night and on the weekends to provide people who don't have masks with masks. And I literally was walking down the main drag that runs past the front of the Hawthorne. I don't know the names of any of the streets. Yeah. Is that the one that goes all the way, heads down to where the Scratch Kitchen is?
Yeah, Hawthorne Boulevard.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Yeah.
I was walking down that street with my wife, and there was a couple that was sitting with, you know, the mask as chin strap, right, like this. And as the mask ambassadors approached them, they saw the mask ambassadors, they pulled it up. The level, I don't know what the percent of people in downtown Salem is that are wearing masks and doing what they need to do to stay distant, but I'm guessing it's way north of 80%. And 95? I mean, they are really working this and working it hard. And so point number one, you know, there's no question there will be people in Salem in October. It's like the Swallows going home to Capistrano or wherever it is they go. It just is going to happen. But the work that the mayor and her team have done to establish a culture here of wearing masks and socially distancing and recognizing and understanding the issues associated with this is pretty powerful. And I've talked to her twice about this and have said that there are things that we can do to help you work your way through the fall and to work your way through the month of October. We're happy to do that with you, but I recognize and understand, and I think she does too, that people will come.
Can you elaborate a little bit about why no statewide mandate comes to trick-or-treating. Doctors say the virus doesn't care about borders, and if you're a high-risk community, chances are you might border a lower-risk community, which might border another high-risk community. So can you explain a little bit more? Why no statewide uniform policy? Why leave it up to communities?
Well, we're going to put out plenty of guidance, as I said before, but we're going to expect people to make decisions on their own at the local level. I mean, point number one here is I had a whole bunch of people say to me, why don't you just cancel Halloween? And the reason we're not canceling Halloween is because that would have turned into thousands of indoor Halloween parties, which would have been a heck of a lot worse for public safety and for the spread of the virus than outdoor, organized, and supervised trick-or-treating. And I think our view on this is there are some very simple things that people can do to manage their kids and themselves with respect to Halloween outdoors that most people would agree is a heck of a lot safer than what they might choose to do as an alternative. And so we're going to put the guidance out on that, and we're going to let locals hopefully communicate that in their communities. But if people want to go beyond that, as they do in some cases, that's up to them.
Governor, have you decided, are you holding trick-or-treating here in Salem?
We're contemplating working with our Board of Health officials to give guidance. I mean, Halloween, you're in a city where we're purists. Folks are probably going to go out. And we feel like there's family decisions that if you are a family, we have throngs of tourists that are here. And if families can safely, certainly following those directives and guidance, in small groups with masks, go out, we would love to be able to enable that. And if residents don't feel comfortable having people come, there are ways that you can turn off porch lights and give that direction as well. So we're hopeful that we can provide guidance without putting any mandates in place around people's activities.
Can you talk a little about the ambassador program that the governor mentioned? How is that working?
Yeah, we've got downtown ambassadors that are neighbors that we deploy on a routine basis to help remind folks about masks, pass out masks, let people know when their masks are being improperly worn. We track the number of people they see with masks on, those that are being worn properly and those that are not, and that's how we're able to create a culture where if you're in downtown, you're expected to wear a mask. Now, it's not 100%. We got a few folks from out of town for whom wearing a mask for them is a political decision, and we have folks who have health conditions who sometimes can't wear a mask. But for the most part, it's been really strong compliance, and it's terrific that it's a neighbor. It's not necessarily an armed individual coming up to you. It's somebody who lives here, who cares about the community, who's handing you a mask, and just trying to communicate in a way that leads to compliance.
Are you fining people, scofflaws?
We are, but fines are very, very few. I mean, imagine the interactions of trying to find somebody, tracking them down, getting their name. All they have to do is say they have a health condition and they're waived of the requirement. So we found that education, if we're getting 95% compliance by educating people with downtown ambassadors, we feel like that program's working.
Governor, can you expand on that Trump?
Just let me say one other thing on the mayor's comment about that. Salem was the first community that took really seriously this idea of messaging and message boards and signage. You were putting this stuff up in April and May, and we stole that idea, and one of the biggest things we've brought to many of the communities that are high risk is a commitment to give them, in multiple languages, signage that they can put in the places where they think it would be most appropriate, along with a bunch of digital messaging and a whole bunch of other things. I mean, you got to start with messaging, and make clear to people that it's expected that you're going to be wearing a mask, socially distancing if you're in this part of town. And I think they've done an effective job with that. Good.